with another video. You already know who this is. It's Girl Code.
We are so happy to be back again. Thank you. We can't thank you guys enough for the support. If by now we haven't reached 1,000 followers, we should be very close to the subscribers. But please continue to subscribe, continue to like, continue to share, comment, follow us on Instagram, share with your friends, share our videos. We are very excited to bring you these topics, sit here and bring you this raw realness, spiciness, and we're going to continue doing that. Today we have another one.
Yes. Today for this specific video, I mean, we should do it every video, but for this specific one, we're going to be putting our personal IGs in the not in the comment section, in the description of the video, so you guys can message us, follow us, hit us up, and now we'll be putting the contact information for the Reckless TV if you want to send a private message to us. The topic of today we want to bring to the table, and it's often overlooked, which is a really bad thing that we don't talk about it more, especially in guys, is depression and anxiety. Amen? Mm-hmm. And I want to start off by reading a Bible verse. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all of your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him. Acknowledge him, and he will make straight your path." And the reason why I decided to read this verse is because when we are in the state of depression or we are anxious, we tend to try to take control of everything. We try to acknowledge, what can we do now? How can we fix this? How can we make this better? Why isn't this better? Why isn't this worth it? What did I do wrong? And then in the verse it says, trust in God, that he is the one who is in control of everything, and don't lean on your own understanding, because it will just take you deeper into that state of darkness and loneliness. Okay, and my first question of the topic is, what initially takes somebody into the state of depression? For example, for me, what started it was when I was younger. A lot of people put a lot of labels on me. Mm-hmm. And that really brought an identity crisis at a young age, because I'm like, okay, they see me this way. And when we were younger, we take our friends' opinions of us seriously. Even today, I mean, today, people just brush it off. It's like, oh, I could be whoever I want. But back then, it was just like, if you weren't who that clique was, if you weren't like the popular girl, if you weren't like this, then you wouldn't fit in. Yep. And that was my fear. Like, I wasn't going to fit in. And I missed out on a lot of opportunities for myself because I was afraid that I wasn't going to fit in. And that brought me a lot of lacking. Like, it brought a lot of missing out. I didn't take advantage of the opportunities that were positive for me, because I was afraid of what other people might think. And I acknowledge that I'm a people pleaser. And that's it's a good thing at a certain point. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people put a lot of labels on me. And it started off with, I was never a girly girl. I was never, and even to today, my husband, he tells me, do your nails, do this, and it's a struggle. But I was never that type of girl. And so what they labeled me in 4th grade was a tomboy. Tomboy is like a girl that's not a girl. Yeah. 4th grade, I was are you a tomboy? You a tomboy? You a tomboy? You a tomboy? And I was like, all right, I'll take it. I'm a tomboy, right? And I'm a tomboy, whatever. And I acted like, I acted like the tomboy. I acted like a guy. And then that, especially the lack of love that was in the household that my mom couldn't give me because she didn't receive it, led me to liking girls. Okay? And so I started liking girls, and I got into a relationship that obviously broke my heart, relationship that I shouldn't have been in. I was probably like the second girl in that graduate class that was gay. Wow. The second girl. And then I went to high school. I was a total mess, dating, flirting, all this. But then again, none of that really satisfied me. Whoever that person that I wanted to be because of everybody else never satisfied me. It just made me feel alone. And I know a lot of people can relate that you can be surrounded by so many people and you still feel alone because nobody can acknowledge you intimately, because for one, you don't open yourself to everybody because you don't know if that person is actually genuinely asking you how you are because they actually care, or because they want to go and tell your other friends, crazy. Look, this person is this way, she acting this way on social media, she posting all this, but in reality she ain't about it. And that's something that was that brought me into a lot of, and then when I started going to church, it was something that even in church I struggled with that, with letting go of that past, because it was just so engraved in my head that it's like, dang, you know. And even in my relationship before my husband got married, I failed him in that area. Like, I dated a girl while I was with him at the same time. So it was just like, it was just something that was so engraved, and I felt so empty, and I felt so lost. And it's just like, even in that young age, I was like, yo, is this really what life is? Like, is this really to live for everybody else but myself? Is this really what it is? And that's something that carries along, because even now, like, recently, I felt that same way. Like, yo, I go to work 9 to 5, come home, whatever, I gotta do whatever for my husband, go to the weekend, and then we start Monday again. And it's just like, yo, is this really what it is? Like, it is really what it is. And then at that point, I started neglecting myself, and I started neglecting the relationship that are most important to me. Like, my relationship with my husband, I started neglecting that. My relationship with my best friends, I become absent. I become not more involved, because I'm just so in the dark place. I'm so deep that it's just like, yo, everybody wants to benefit off me, but how am I benefiting off you? Like, what are you asking? Wow. Are you asking me, am I okay? Are you asking me, like, how I am spiritually? Are you asking me where I'm at mentally? And what just takes me there is just that sense of emptiness, and that sense of incomplete, like I'm incomplete, or that sense of like nobody really cares. But I know, like I said in this Bible verse, just trust in God and not lean on your own. For me, my understanding is that nobody cares, but for God, it's like everybody around you does care and love you and miss you. And I had a friend, and I thank you, Leslie, because recently you told me, oh, you're so loved and you're so missing. And I told you, yo, you don't know how much that means to me right now. And that's something that... And we struggle with it, even if we're in church. Like, that's something that you struggle with, and that's why you always have to have a mentor. That's why you always have to have somebody, at least one person that you can speak to, open up to, someone that not somebody that can you open up and they give their opinion right away, because that's not what you really want. You just want somebody to sit there and listen and try to lead you out of it, try to take you out of it. Spend the time, be present. That their presence can make you like, okay, I understand. Maybe there's something that I'm overreacting, overthinking, and it's just
not
just
try
me.
to fix it. Just just be there.
Exactly, just be there. Exactly. So I don't know what, in your opinion, takes you into that state of like depression and you become anxious.
I think that for me, it started in the 3rd grade. I want to say. I was bullied, like severe, like it was bad, to the point where like in certain situations it got like physical, where like people would throw things at me, and like, you know, those little like class parties. I had a really cool teacher, and she would always have like these parties for us. And like I remember one day they did like 2 rows, like it was the line of students. There was like 30 kids in that class, and like everybody started saying my name, like, you know, like Leslie, whatever. So like I got into the middle to dance, and like everybody started throwing things at me. And I feel like that was the first time in my life that I ever felt sad, like in that way, like that I understood, like, wow, people don't like me, or like I feel rejected, or like I feel bullied. And like you, I feel like I was labeled in the 3rd grade, and it was like people would call me like fat and ugly, and that ultimately created these insecurities for me now, to the point where like I'm a grown married woman, and I can't leave my house without changing or like looking at myself 5,000 times, or thinking like that something is wrong throughout the day, or like something as simple as worshiping at church and going back to look at the live to see how I looked. But I think that like what can lead you there sometimes is like who you surround yourself with, the circumstances that you've been put through. But I think that something important is that I have mentioned to you before is what keeps you there. I feel like is bigger than what leads you there. Because sometimes you're in this depression, sometimes you're having anxiety, you're having panic attacks, you're having suicidal thoughts, and you finally speak up and you want to say something about it, and people's reactions keep you in that state.
That's true.
So for me personally, it got to a point where I was okay talking about it. I was okay bringing up the depression, bringing up the anxiety, bringing up the suicidal thoughts. And when I was 14 years old, 14 or 15, I don't remember, I tried to take my life. And it was to the point where it was a very close attempt. Like, I took an entire bottle of pills and knocked out. Like, all I remember was just knocking out. Wow. And it wasn't, like, my parents didn't know. They just thought I took a nap, and I did it in their room, on their bed. And I just remember, like, I wasn't thinking about what anybody was going to care. I wasn't thinking about, I just wanted to end my hurt. I wanted to end my thoughts and what was happening. And when I finally came out, and I started to talk about this situation that happened, I confided in somebody very close to me, and that person went and told my parents. Oh my gosh. And it was like, that kept me there. That kept me in the state of depression, because I didn't think that these people were going to react in this way. I thought my family was going to be supportive. And to the point where I tried to testify, and I couldn't.
I remember.
I received a phone call when I was about to testify on a church show, like a live show, from my father telling me that if I testify, like, that it was going to embarrass them, that I couldn't share my story about attempting against my life because it was going to embarrass my parents. And I felt suffocated. I felt cornered.
That's the word.
I felt cornered. I felt like I couldn't share. Like, even now talking about this, like, if they watch this video, I don't know. I'm thinking about, what are they going to say? How are they going to feel? Is it going to embarrass them? And that's what kept me there.
That's what rooted everything. I mean, for me, it's more like, especially now that I feel like everybody holds me into a high standard because I'm a pastor, let's say, right? And everybody's like, oh, Vicky the pastor, yo, she's not cool and all this, and she popping. You could always talk to her. But then again, it's like who talks to me?
Who asks you?
You know? And I know you can relate to that, right? You can relate to that that standard. Like, you're because you're a leader, you feel like you can't just open up to everybody.
Oh yeah.
Everybody can open up to you. Like, I'm here to listen, but what about you? Who's asking you? Who's reaching out your hand? So I don't know. What do you feel like you're giving too much? Yeah, like, it's not that we're giving too much. It's just like who asks? You know. I mean, how do you feel? How do you feel about that?
The same
question. Like, what takes you into that, like, questioning and deep, like, space?
Okay, well, way back when I was young, younger. Well, it started. I can see that I was kind of growing, like, insecurities. I remember last time I was like, second grade, but then, like, I don't know, but it came to mind, like, in kindergarten. I remember, like, when I was in a cafeteria, and that day I was wearing blue sweatpants, and I was, like, seeing how everyone's wearing jeans, and I was like, damn, like, am I ugly? And then, like, saying that I was, like, fat, and that's why I couldn't fit into jeans. Like, it was just whatever. And I was, like, kindergarten, so I was, like, 5, 6 years old? Mm-hmm. So I remember comparing myself all the time and, like, being like, like I would see who the boys would like the most in my class, or, like, they would, like, you know how kids are, they'd be, like, straight up, like, honest, and, like, they would always, like, compliment them, and, like, in class, like, if they're chasing after you in recess, that means they like you, and I'm like, no one's, like, chasing after me. Right. Like, but I would compare since I was little, and I kept comparing till I was older, and then I just noticed that as I got older, I just got, like, grew with an obsession with perfection, and I wanted to be, I'm a people pleaser, still am, and I try not to, you know, but I'm so obsessed with perfection. I was obsessed with, like, so much with perfection that I wanted everyone to like me. I wanted that when people see me, I had the perfect grades, the perfect weight, the perfect looks, the perfect clothes, the perfect way to speak, the perfect way to think, the perfect example, the perfect daughter, the perfect sister, the perfect Christian, the perfect worshiper. I wanted to be perfect, and and because, you know, perfection is impossible, I started to hate myself because I couldn't reach the perfection that I
was so obsessed about. It was my goal. I just wanted to be perfect. I wanted my parents to feel like they had the best daughter in the world, and I wanted when people saw me in church to, wow, that's the perfect pastor's kid. Oh my gosh! And when people hear me worship, oh, that's the perfect worshiper. And I knew that it was impossible, but I was so angry, and I was like, God, like, why am I like this? Like, I know that it's impossible, but I'm so obsessed with everything. And then the more I couldn't like get to it, and I just couldn't be perfect. Like and then the thing is, it gets to a point that I was like so tired of trying to be perfect, but I was addicted to just wanting to be perfect and waiting on other people to give me compliments. Like if I didn't get a compliment, then I'll be like, what's wrong with me? Like, oh, I need someone to like praise me. I need someone like to tell me something so I know I'm doing a good job. And it took me to a dark place because it was an obsession, and it took me to a dark place because all I wanted was that, and I couldn't get it. And then I was getting angry with myself because I'm not perfect, and then hating myself because I'm like, Carolyn, why can't you be perfect, Carolyn? And then I was like my own coach. I'm like, Carolyn, why are you in doing this? Carolyn, why are you not doing this? Why are you speaking this way? Why are you wearing those shoes? You can't wear those shoes. That's not your style. The people are not gonna like it. To the point that I remember when Jenny was living with me, I would always ask you, like, I'm like, Jenny, does this look good? Like, should I wear shoes? Should I wear these sneakers? And then I would wear heels. And then when I go to church, I'm like, Jenny, can you bring me my sneakers? Like, it was a mess because I was just trying. So I don't know. I just wanted to achieve this thing of perfection, or just being this person for everyone, and even myself. And it just took me to such a dark place that it was a point I could no longer hide what I was going through, because it would be after worship. I would literally come downstairs and be like, are you okay? I'm like, oh, I'm just tired. And I kept saying that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just sleepy. I didn't sleep well. And it's just, and then my mind just took such a dark place that I would convince myself that because I wasn't perfect, nobody liked me. I would convince myself and name people that I knew, they don't like you. You're annoying. They don't want to talk to you. That's the way they are with you. They're just fake. They're just doing that just to do it. But no, they don't like you. And then since I've done that for so long, sorry, I'm like all over the place. It got to the point that I was so dark that I did try to take my life. And thankfully, God put a stop to there. I filled up the bathtub and I went under and I got to see like my eyes getting blurry and stuff like that. But luckily, he came through. Something was like, yo, wait. But even still after that, and I was liberated and all these things, there still happens to this day that I have of trying to be perfect. Like,
People, this is real life. It's like people think like because you've been given the honor, because it's really a privilege to live in a pastor's house and to be a pastor yourself. It's a blessing. Let's say it's a blessing, but at the same time, you get brokenhearted, you get crushed, you get backstab, you get this, and those things hurt. We're not made of metal here. We're still human like you. We just have the boldness to like care for you and lead you deeper to Jesus. Is really what it is.
I think the hardest part is talking about it though, because like we have been so like cornered and for so long, and it's like when you do talk about it, it's like you think to yourself, is it attention seeking? Like, oh my goodness. And I think like you should feel okay like to share.
Yes.
And for you to say like, that there's still times now where you're still after that perfection, like depression and anxiety is not like, you could be liberated and everything, but like the same way that a scar can open up is the same way that anxiety and depression relapses happen. And it can be like a flare up, like a bad rash. Mm-hmm. Like it does come back sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's okay to mention that.
No, yeah. And so now, like sometimes like I tell my mom like all these expectations that I want, all the things I want to do, my goals. And she's like, calm down. And sometimes you have to be like, you're playing God. And I'm like, and I will have to like catch myself. I'm like, it's true, because sometimes my habits of just wanting to be like a perfect pastor, like it's impossible. I want to be a perfect pastor. I still want to be like that perfect thing, and I have to catch myself. Not to say that I'm like in a dark place, but sometimes I catch my mind like wanting to go like in that way. And sometimes my mom has to be like, you're trying to play something that you can't do. Like there's things you are not gonna be able to get to or have that certain like expectation. Like it's like she's like, you're gonna drive yourself crazy and stress yourself out trying to do that. And
till now, sometimes I have habits where I'm like too hard on myself to the point that I like 2 seconds ago I was overthinking to you guys. You guys have been like, yo, like calm down. And it might seem and it gets to the point that like I'm even scared to say something because like that I don't want to be like, oh wow, she's being like attention seeking or like she's just asking for it or she's pretending. Like it's like overthinking to the point like I don't want people to see flaws in me.
Yes.
And that's what I mean when I
Yes.
say it's
Yeah.
suffocating.
Yes.
It's
It is.
So suffocating because it's like you want to scream to the world like I was not okay.
Yes.
I was not okay, and I'm saying was, but like sometimes there's flare-ups, but it's okay not to be okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying it. It is okay not to be okay. Repeat after me. It is okay not to be okay. And that's why we have friends. That's why we have mentors. We have pastors. We have even people with parents that are like close and you can speak to your mom. Not everybody has that privilege, but you have that. You have to have at least one person, just one person that would sit there and listen and care.
Yeah.
You
But
know?
but it's like it's not being obsessed with something doesn't have to be a fresh or anything. That could definitely lead to something dark because when you
Yes.
become obsessed, that's the only thing you're living for. That's your only purpose. That's the only thing you want. So for my long answer, what took me to that dark place was an obsession.
Okay. I mean, I was obsessed at one point too with how everybody saw me, and I became very closed off to people because of the things that they've done or said about me behind closed doors, or the things that they show me in front of me that I'm like, I trusted you with this, and you want to go ahead and take advantage of that and bring it out to the light to make yourself good. That's great. Good for you. But for me, I'm blocking you off and I'm cutting you off because that's toxic. And we talked about that.
Yep.
That's very toxic. But that's things that's happened repetitively in my life, that I tell people something and they take it advantage to make them look greater than what I am. And if you know me, I always think people are above me. Like not that I'm humble, but it's like I always think of people above me because that's the way I want people to think about me, treat me. You get me? And just that, it just like when people just you trust them and they ruin that trust, it's very hard for me to open up. And I even to Yohani, I don't talk about him to everything. And I sometimes I get upset that he can't recognize that I'm becoming depressed because he's so focused on getting something out of me. You get what I'm saying? That he cannot realize that the way I'm acting is because I'm being depressed. Why is this a mess? Why is the car a mess? Why is it when I telling people like, yo, if you see that my house is a mess, be very afraid, be very concerned of my well-being because that is not okay. And that is a form of depression when you become a hoarder.
No, and I think it's important that you bring that up because not everybody is aware of the signs. We have been on the other side of the wall. Like we have been on the side of depression, but have you ever been in the scenario where somebody comes to you and tells you, I'm depressed, or you know, like, or I feel like taking my life away? You need to pay attention to the signs. For me, I isolate myself. I don't want to do my hair as often. I don't want to do my nails. I love doing my makeup. And it just gets to a point where I stop doing my makeup. Like, I won't take care of myself how I usually do or dress up. Or, like, it'll be the complete opposite of how I usually am. And there's signs that people give off. Maybe it be not being neat or how you usually are. Maybe it's not doing your makeup. Maybe it's not going out with your friends. But there's certain signs and different changes that happen in people that we need to pay attention to because that could be a cry for help.
Yes.
For me, I did a lot of isolating, but I'll either try to look too happy, like it's like you suspicious, it's like why you laughing so much, like it wasn't even that funny, like you know, like I'll either try too hard or the way I'll do is that little by little I'll just be like, I don't feel like doing that, like things I love to do all of a sudden I'm like I don't feel like it, or I'll just be like no, I'll stay home, I'm fine, I'll stay home. So that's so a big sign to notice is someone was all of a sudden loving to do something, all of a sudden they just cut off, like no, I don't want to do that no more, like I'm motivated, like that's a like hello, like yo, ask that person if they're doing okay, especially if they love something and they just cut off that passion.
Yeah, I mean the life of the party can be dead inside. You just don't ever know.
That's crazy.
What do you think, Johnny? What takes you to that place of dark, like not a dark place, but a place where like damn, like you're discouraged or you're like desanimado?
Again, depression was something that I really didn't like. I mean, I had suicidal thoughts as a teenager. I was very immature about certain things, about boyfriends and things like that. Like, we were dramatic as teenagers. But I felt like I never was a depressed person. And actually, the conversation I was having with Castor earlier, just like, it adds up as to why I'm so optimistic. Because, like, the childhood that I had just forces me to be like so positive. But I gotta say, the first time I'm openly speaking about that 1 year that I went through 2 years ago, or a year and a half, I guess you could say I was depressed, but I was more numb. Because I was going through something and I had to stay quiet because I was a pastor. Because I was married to a pastor's son. And we were going through things in our marriage. And I had to keep it. I couldn't tell people because we were leaders. And we had to, we were in front of the youth and we had to be example. And that's what killed me. Whatever I had, whatever passion I had for God, it killed me. I was numb. I wasn't allowed to feel. I wasn't allowed to be honest. I had to protect my husband. And of course, I didn't want to ruin his image or anything on purpose, but I wasn't allowed to feel. I wasn't allowed to be upset. And I remember, like, when everything went down, we were in church. And it was your birthday party. And I came back down and I didn't cry. Like, bro, I'm telling you, I don't know how, strong I was to put it all together, but it came back to bite me because I was numb. And I remember not crying. I remember seeing therapists, and they were like, wow, you're so strong. And wow, you're not even crying. Wow, you're so forgiving. But it was because I had no choice. I had to hide it. I had to be okay with it. And I wasn't allowed to be sad or mad. And the next Sunday we were up in the altar worshiping it, to the point where that's when everybody started noticing, because I didn't feel okay with being on the altar knowing that I had something in my heart. Wow. And I stopped worshiping. And that was the first sign. I stopped worshiping. Because I wasn't okay with lying. I wasn't okay with holding it back. I wasn't okay not being honest. And it's not about putting my problems out to the world to see, but I needed to be transparent in that moment. Mm-hmm. I needed to be honest and say, listen, we're going through something. We've been through stuff. We have to forgive ourselves. We need therapy, but we need to step aside right now because we need to focus on our marriage. And we didn't give our marriage that time. And of course, we forgive each other. We went to encounters and pray, and that's wonderful. But I wasn't allowed to feel. I wasn't allowed to be open. I wasn't allowed to be honest. And I had to just forgive and be okay with it. And I was not. And that was the start of where I felt like I went into a dark place. It wasn't a dark place where I wanted to die. It wasn't a place where I felt depressed or but I was numb. Yes, I didn't feel anything. And I remember opening up to Castor, when it was starting to really unravel. And I remember telling him, I don't love God. I don't love you. I don't And it sucks because I missed out on a year of my daughter's life because I was so focused on doing whatever I was doing because I just wanted to feel. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to feel, and I was so numb. So I started doing whatever. It's my life, that I remember telling him oh, my life is perfect. We're married. We have good. It wasn't the case. I just felt like it was a lie. It was fake. Yes. And I wasn't allowed to be honest. And I escaped. I stopped singing. I stopped going to church. And I started to look for things that would make me feel. And I felt like I couldn't serve God. I couldn't worship because if I was not going to be honest, I don't want to be on the altar. Yes, if I wasn't going to be myself, if I wasn't going to be able to say that I'm going through these things and I did these things and he did these things, then I don't want to be on the altar. Then what is the point? Yes. So if I'm not going to be able to feel these things, then I'm going to do whatever. And I was like, whatever, I'm out. And I started hanging out with friends. And again, I don't blame them or anything like that. It was just me looking to feel, me to get attention. And I started hanging out with the wrong crowds, and I started smoking weed, something that I never really did. Like I tried it before, and that was my life. That's what I did. And I had a daughter and I loved her and I did not, ever stop taking care of her. But I missed out on, like, it sucks. I want her to see me worship. I want her to see me love God and serve God. But I'm not there. I'm not there. And I took that away from her. Like, I miss that. She used to see me worship and she used to worship. And I want to be this image for her, but I have to be honest. I'm not there. I'm not there, and I'm gonna take my time, but it's like you get into this place where you want to make everybody else happy to the point where you become numb and you don't feel. And that's what led me to that 1 year of me just not caring and not doing anything, not being involved. I distanced myself from all my friends. Like I completely went out of contact with all my friends, and like I was a different person. Like I didn't care. Like I only loved my daughter. That was it. And I feel like that's what brought me back to God, was the love that I have for my daughter, because it's like I gave life to her, and it's like she doesn't deserve that. She doesn't deserve for me to be that way. So that's what brought me back to like wanting to rekindle that relationship with God. But I cannot be a pastor again. I cannot, and everybody knows I've been saying I cannot be a pastor because I don't feel that I can be transparent, and that's why I feel like my view on life has changed so much because of that year. Because I guess some people might say that I'm rebellious. It's not that. It's just I'm real.
Right.
I'm honest.
Yes.
And I'm not going to be apologetic about it. If I listen to worldly music, if I drink, if I do certain things, I'm not going to be apologetic because I lived my life so much of covering my imperfection and my flaws when it should have been like, I'm human and I make mistakes and I have things that I like piercings and tattoos. And I'm not going to hide that because that's what makes me me. And that's what makes Jesus love me and forgive me and be, who I am. So it was a tough year. I lost myself completely. But it was nice to have friends. I think that's important. Friends that recognize. The first person that really was the person who opened the door was sat down to me. He's like, what's going on? Like, why are you that way? I know some of you guys like talked to me, pulled me aside, whatever, but it was the first time where I opened up. And that's why it's okay to speak up.
Yes.
Because you are liberated. If it wasn't for that conversation that I feel like I wouldn't have started. Because he's like, but you Cali's worship. He's like, because I was like, I'm not going to serve God. I'm not doing nothing because I'm worldly, I'm whatever. But because he opened up and said, no, it's okay to be in that area and still worship God. It's okay to, I started coming to church. And I started worshiping and he started coming to church. So it was like, you need that one person.
Yes.
You really do need that one person. And I hope that, everybody has that like one person who notices and like brings you out of that area. And it's slowly. 2 years later, I'm still going through it, but it's a dark place that I don't want to ever be in. And that's why I'm sorry, guys. I'm very unapologetic. I'm saying sorry, but I'm going to be me. I'm going to be me. I'm going to be honest.
That's what we want.
And I'm just trying to find my way to God, but in a way that's biblical, one, and it's in my personal relationship with God, not me. Standards to the church, not standards by what other people think, not standards of me being a pastor or any of that. It's just one-on-one with God, being open, honest, and real, not feeling everything. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to go through things, but I'm not gonna be numb. I can't.
And even if like you didn't go through like depression or like it wasn't that deep for you, it's still mental health.
No, it is.
It's still mental health, and I think it's important to talk about it and to bring up the fact that like we're all Hispanic and we grew up in a Hispanic household where it's embarrassing for your child to be on the spectrum, or like it's embarrassing for your child to be sad about something or to be failing in school. Like they don't talk about it. And it's like you just don't talk about that. There's things that you don't touch topics in a Hispanic household. And I think it's okay to share. And I think that we do need to be the type of people, or like you think about having that one person, but how about being that one person for somebody that just asks, are you okay? How are you doing? Do you need a hug? A phone call? Anything it matters, because it will prevent so many things. It will prevent so many suicides. It will prevent so many people from falling into depression.
Yes.
And like being able to open up to your family, like if we can advise the parents to be that for your kids. Like, if you feel like it's a cry for help, if their room is messier than usual, if they stop doing a hobby that they were really into, like, pay attention to the signs, because it's just like there's so many different things that can happen in a person's life that it's a switch that flips one day to another, and they're depressed and they just fall into this hole. And I think that there's things that dig us deeper if people don't pay attention to the signs, and it's a lot. It really is a lot, but mental health is important.
Yeah, mental health.
Very.
Very important. I just want to tell everybody who's watching our video, again, our personal Instagram will be in the bottom. Please, each and every one of us are here. Maybe you're listening to us and like, yo, they haven't gone through nothing. Like, they just being mad and emotional, but it's still
they're being dramatic.
They're being
It's
dramatic.
still
And I know people that have been through stuff that it's crazy, and they're still standing. And I'm glad that I was there to be there for that person. I'm telling you right now, and I know I'm in the video, I'm in here, but I'm looking at you in the eyes and telling you, like, are you good? Like, are you okay? It's okay not to be okay. We're here. Each and every one of us are here to help, to listen to you and try to guide you spiritually, mentally, and emotional. Because yes, like she said a perfect word. It can be suffocating, and we don't want you to suffocate. We want you to live and live freely. And crying, it's okay. It's a form of liberation.
It's refreshing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's refreshing. Talking about it will liberate you. It won't. It won't push you away from. At least not me. I don't know.
I'd rather hear you talk 1,000 hours than me have to sit at your funeral.
You gotta call me at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I'd rather hear you speak. I'd rather hear you cry. You can smack me if you need to, than me sit at your funeral and not hear a word.
No, and if it doesn't matter if you're a pastor, if you're a leader, if you're a member, if you're the president, whatever position you may have, that should not stop you from speaking up of what you're going through. Yep. And the way that we're all saying here that, yes, it's hard because of a position. Find one person, someone. In the Bible, it says that the truth will set you free. Find someone to speak to. Because if you don't, it's going to suffocate you and it's going to kill you.
Lose yourself.
Yes,
yeah,
you're
I'm an
gonna lose
example
yourself.
of losing yourself
No, you could lose
from
yourself.
staying quiet.
Yeah, so we have to speak up regardless of what people are going to say. You don't have to go and this is a public announcement of what I'm going
there's
through.
help. There's help out there.
Yes, find one person. Find a therapist. Find a counselor. Speak. If you don't speak, it's going to stay inside. It's going to eat you up to the point that you can go numb. Because it's going to eat your feelings. You're not going to have anything left to feel. So speak. It says in the word, the truth sets you free.
Yep, and it did.
Yes. This is temporary. It is temporary. This is
Girl Code.